Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen wal aqibatu lil muttaqin wassalatu wassalamu ala sayyidil anbiya'i wal mursalin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in amma ba'd fa'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim bismillahir rahmanir rahim قال الله تبارك وتعالى في القرآن المجيد والفرقان الحميد قد جاءكم من الله النور صدق الله العلي العظيم وصدق رسوله النبي الكريم ونحن على ذلك من الشاهدين والشاكرين والحمد لله رب العالمين قابل قدر علماء کرام बुजुर्ग दोस्तों भाइयों अजीज बच्चों माँ और बहनों अस्सलामु अलैकुम व रहमतुल्लाहि तआला व बरकातहू अस्सलातु वस्सलामु अलैका या रसूल अल्लाह अस्सलातु वस्सलामु अलैका या हबीब अल्लाह अस्सलातु वस्सलामु अलैका या नबी अल्लाह अस्सलातु वस्सलामु अलैका या नूर अल्लाह सल्लल्लाहु तआला अलैहि वसल्लम। Sayyid Sahib का हुक्म है, it's put me in a very uncomfortable position. अल्लामा साहब शायद उर्दू में बयान करेंगे तो 5-10 मिनट इंशाल्लाह इंग्लिश में कुछ अर्ज कर देता हूँ. I didn't come to do a bayan or to pray an ad. I came to be a part of the mahfil and to do ziyarat of the blessed Mubarak of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. May Allah Ta'ala guide me to speak the truth, for all of us to hear the truth, and for all of us to act upon the truth. This is the blessed month of Rabiul Noor, Rabiul Awwal Sharif, the third month of the Islamic calendar. The blessed month in which Allah Azza wa Jalla granted us, gave us His most beloved Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. This is the month, and Mufassirin Kiram state, scholars state, that the reason Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was born in the month of Rabiul Awwal, was born in this month, was because it was not a sacred month from before. The month of Rajab, the month of Ramadan, the month of Zulhijjah, the month of Muharram were all sacred before, and if Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was born in that month, people would have said he is special because he is born in a special month. He came in a month that had no significance because Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam came and gave the month of Rabiul Awwal the significance that all Ushaq Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam, all lovers of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam celebrate. And it is our duty to celebrate, to express happiness, express joy at the blessed birth of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And remember, it's the birth of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the coming of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam into this world. It wasn't his creation. It wasn't when he was made. It wasn't when he was. It was when he was born, but it's not when he was created. In a hadith, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam one time said to Sayyidina Jibreel alayhi salatu wasalam, "Oh Jibreel, tell me, how old are you? How old are you?" Jibreel alayhi salatu wasalam replied, "Ya Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, I don't know how old I am, but I know that there is one star that I would see every 70,000 years." How often? Every 70,000 years I would see that star. Ya Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, I don't know how old I am, but I have seen that star 72,000 times. I have seen that star 72,000 times. That comes out every 70,000 years. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "Jibreel, I swear by Allah, that star was me." वो मैं ही था, that was me. Sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Always when we say Rasulullah, we have to say Aka sallallahu alaihi wasallam ने फरमाया कि जिसने मेरा नाम सुना और मुझ पर दुरूद न भेजा वो जन्नत का रास्ता भूल गया. he has forgotten the path to paradise. Always when we say Rasulullah, we say and say it out loud. So someone who has forgotten will say it. We will get the reward for them saying it as well as us saying it, inshallah. I have seen that 72,000 times Rasulullah, Ya Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. And Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, I swear by Allah, that star was me. And that is not the beginning of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. In Musannif Abdul Razak, who is Sayyidina Abdul Razak? Sayyidina Abdul Razak is the teacher of Imam Bukhari. Imam Bukhari ke ustad. Dada Ustad, Musannif Abdul Razak, one of the oldest hadith kitabs available. In there is a hadith. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam was asked by Sayyidina Jabir radiyallahu ta'ala anhu, Ya Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, what was the first thing created by Allah Azza wa Jalla? कौन सी चीज अल्लाह ताला ने सबसे पहले तख्लीक फरमाई? मेरे मुस्तफा सल्लल्लाहु ताला अलैहि वसल्लम फरमाया. And listen to the words of Rasulullah sallallahu taala alaihi wasallam. It's one thing listening to a hadith in English, in Urdu, in a different language, but listening to it in the words of Rasulullah sallallahu taala alaihi wasallam. And the language of Rasulullah sallallahu taala alaihi wasallam has its own beauty. قال رسول الله صلى الله تعالى عليه وسلم قال يا جابر إن الله تعالى قد خلق قبل الأشياء نور نبيك من نوره. Ya Jabir, Beshak, undoubtedly, Inna Allah, it's for tahqiq, it's for emphasis. Inna Allah Ta'ala, undoubtedly Allah Ta'ala, Qad khalaqa, before anything, Qabla al-ashya, before any creation, Noor Nabiyyika, created the Noor of your Prophet. Tere Nabi ke Noor ko takhliq farmaya. Isse farmaya, min noorihi. Ya Jabir, the first thing, undoubtedly, the first thing created by Allah Azza wa Jalla was the light of your Prophet, of his light, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. This was the creation of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. And then that light stayed wherever Allah Azza wa Jalla chose it to stay. That light remained busy in whatever Allah Azza wa Jalla desired it to remain busy. And then that light was put into the blessed forehead of Sayyidina Adam alayhi salatu wassalam. And the angels, when they prostrated to Adam alayhi salatu wassalam, when they were ordered to prostrate to Adam alayhi salatu wassalam, they were not prostrating to Adam alayhi salatu wassalam, they were prostrating to the Noor of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. That was in the blessed forehead of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. And Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam himself said, it's a combination of many ahadith mubarakah. He said, I was placed from pure loins into pure wombs. From pure loins into pure wombs. From father to mother, from father to mother, from one generation to another generation, in the best of the people of that generation. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam himself said, Allah Azza wa Jalla looked at all the people, and he found the best of people. Then he found the best tribe. Then he found the best community. Then he found the best family. And in the best family, he gave me birth in the best family. And he is the best, and there was none from his forefathers. And we have to know these things, because people tell us all kinds of things. Remember, none of the ancestors of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, none, not one, from Sayyidina Adam alayhi salatu wassalam to Sayyidina Abdullah radiyallahu ta'ala anhu, either on Sayyidina Hawwa's side, Sayyidina Amina's side, Hazrat Abdullah's side, not from his radiyallahu ta'ala anhu, not from his mother's side, or from his father's side. Not one of his parents, not one of his parents was an idol worshiper. Not one of his parents was not a muwahid, a believer in one Allah Azza wa Jalla, a believer in one Tawheed, not believing in idol worship, not worshipping idols, not worshipping stones or rocks, but they were worshippers and believers in one supreme Allah Azza wa Jalla. And this was the ancestors, the genealogy, the family of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. One moment to speak about one of the forefathers, Because then in other mahfils, inshallah, we will talk about other forefathers and about Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. We have to know ye hamare aqa hai. What do we know about him? Do we know anything? हम गीत गाते हैं मुस्तफ़ा जाने रहमत पे लाखों सलाम, गाने भी चाहिए अल्हम्दुलिल्लाह, क़यामत तक हम गाएंगे इंशाअल्लाह. अभी बिलाल अहमद पढ़ा था मुस्तफ़ा खाक हो जाए अदू जलकर मगर हम तो रज़ा. मेरे इमाम फरमाते हैं खाक हो जाए अदू जलकर मगर हम तो रज़ा, दम में जब तक दम है जिक्र उनका सुनाते जाएंगे. That's all we're going to do. And we should, but we should know a little bit about him, where he came from, who he was his father, who was his grandfather, who was his great-grandfather, who was his great-great-grandfather. अभी मैं आपसे पूछूं सरकार सल्लल्लाहु ताला अलैहि वसल्लम के वालिद बुजुर्गवार का क्या नाम है? Most of you will tell me. Huh? What was it? Hazrat Abdullah radiyallahu ta'ala anhu. And if I say what was his grandfather's name, will you tell me? Hazrat Abdul Muttalib radiyallahu ta'ala anhu. What about his great-grandfather? Hashim. Hashim radiyallahu ta'ala anhu. And his great-great-grandfather? Sayyidina Abdul Manaf radiyallahu ta'ala anhu. We have to know about the genealogy of Rasulullah sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa sallam. Hazrat Hashim had 4 sons. How many? 4 sons. The oldest, Drushdi Bari. Sorry, Hazrat Abdul Manaf had 4 sons. How many? 4 sons. The oldest, Hashim. The youngest, Muttalib. Muttalib. Not Abdul Muttalib, Muttalib. Hazrat Hashim and Hazrat Hashim used to go to trade to Syria many times. And when he used to go to trade to Syria, he used to go through a little city. Not a city, it was a village, a town at that time called Yathrib. And there he would rest there, stay there at the house of one of the leaders of Yathrib, from the family of Banu Najjar. And Hazrat Hashim one time, when he was coming on his trip, he proposed to the leader of the Banu Najjar marriage for himself to his daughter, Sayyidah Salma radiyallahu ta'ala anha. And the marriage took place. She moved to Makkah. The only condition of this marriage was that when she would be expecting a child, the birth of the child would take place in Yathrib. That was the condition of the marriage. Marriage took place. They started living in Makkah. When she was expecting, she got pregnant. She was expecting. She went to Yathrib, had a child. Now this child was born, a beautiful child. And this beautiful child was born with some white hair. White hair. Very rare. Very rare. So because he had white hair, they named this child Sheba, which means old. Named the child Sheba. Sheba the child went to Makkah, lived with his father Hashim and his mother Salma radiyallahu ta'ala anhuma. On one of his trips, Hashim's one of his trips, business trips to Syria, to Sham, he passed away. So Sayyidah Salma moved back to Medina with her parents, with her child. One day a person from Makkah, from the tribe of Quraysh, went to Yathrib and saw this beautiful child playing in the street. And the child, and in those days when children would play, they would sing eulogies, they would sing songs. They would boast about their ancestry and their family and their tribe. And this one child was playing, and he was singing with his friends, "Look at me, how elegant I am. I am a child of Hashim, and I am a child of Banu Najjar, the leaders of Makkah and the leaders of Medina." He was like royalty, this child. The person heard this and thought, that's strange. If he is a child of Hashim, he belongs in Makkah. He is one of us. He should be brought up in Makkah. He went back and told his uncle. Muttalib was his uncle, the youngest son of Sayyidina Abdul Manaf. the brother, younger brother of Sayyidina Hashim, that what are you doing? Your nephew is in Medina, is in Yathrib. Why is he not here? He should be living here amongst us. He is part of our family. So Hazrat Muttalib went to Yathrib, went and spoke to the family, to Sayyida Salma, explained to her. We'll go into this more detail. I just want to give you a glimpse of the family of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam. And spoke to them and said, you should come and live with us in Mecca. This is our child. You are our family. You are the family of Quraysh. You are the family of Banu Hashim. You are my brother's family. You should be living with us. Sayyida Salma radiallahu ta'ala anha said, what will I do living in Mecca? Come and living in Mecca. My husband's passed away. I'm fine here with my family. But by all means, you can take my child. He is Hashim. He is Hashmi. He is Quraysh. He belongs in the city of Mecca. He belongs with his father's family. So Sayyidina Muttalib took this young child with him to Mecca. They entered into Mecca. What was the child's name? Sheba. Born with? When they rode into Mecca on their transport, whatever they had, donkey or camel or horse, people saw this beautiful child. Noor emanating from him. Light emanating from him. With Muttalib. And they said, Muttalib, who's this child? Because when he left, he didn't have a child with him. And he comes back a few weeks, a month later, and he's got a child. Who is this child? Hazrat Muttalib didn't want to go into the details, didn't want to go into the background and say, it's my slave. But a gulam hai. Gulam in Arabic is Abd. So people said, oh, this is Abdul Muttalib, the child. And that's how the child became known to be Abdul Muttalib, the blessed grandfather of Rasulullah sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa sallam. And then there's a long story about the life of Hazrat Abdul Muttalib radiyallahu ta'ala anhu, who had 10 sons. 10 sons, and the youngest of which was Sayyidina Abdullah radiyallahu ta'ala anhu. And when he made a minnat, a vow to Allah Azza wa Jalla, minnat mante hai now. He made a vow to Allah Azza wa Jalla, oh Allah, if I have 10 sons and they all grow up healthy, I will sacrifice one of them to you. Might have been a tradition in those days, what people used to do. So Allah Ta'ala blessed him with 10 sons. 10 sons all grew up. When they got to age, he remembered his vow, his promise to Allah Azza wa Jalla, I have to sacrifice one of them. So he gathered all his sons together, and his sons were obviously obedient sons. Not like sons in this day and age. Obedient sons. He told them, this is what I've done. I've made a vow to Allah Azza wa Jalla. What do you say? Son said, Father, go ahead. So they drew lots. Everyone's name had a draw, like a lottery. Put everyone's name, and then when they drew lots, the name of Sayyidina Abdullah radiallahu ta'ala anhu came out. Which meant that he had to sacrifice the youngest, the most beautiful of his 10 boys. He had daughters too, but this was the most handsome of his boys. But he made a promise to Allah Azza wa Jalla. He made a promise. What happens next? Allama sahab ka bayan sunenge. Inshallah next Friday ko. अब्दुल मामा के वहाँ महफिल मिलाद है, इंशाअल्लाह इसको वहाँ जारी रखेंगे. अल्लाह ताला कहने सुनने से ज़्यादा हमें अमल की तौफीक अता फरमाए. और अलैना इल्लल बलाग. अस्सलाम वालेकुम. नारे तकबीर.